Well, thank you. So I have the distinct privilege of introducing our keynote speaker, Senator Tim Kaine. Before I talk about what a truly extraordinary leader he is in the United States, I did want to just share my perspective on Yali for a couple of minutes. I currently work for former President Barack Obama, who's very relaxed and enjoying his life. He's instructed us all not to wear ties, but he is running a foundation and setting up a foundation that is going to focus on connecting, empowering the next generation of young leaders in the United States and around the world. And that will be, I think, a central focus of his post-presidency. And he's a relatively young man, has several decades of work ahead of him. And really, the reason he's chosen that is Yali. That he saw when he was President of the United States, the power of a program like this to make a difference in individual lives and in communities and across whole regions. Yali originated with an idea by President Obama. We were an anniversary year for a number of African countries that were marking 50 years of independence. And some other countries were hosting kind of large government events. The French were having a bunch of African leaders who would march down the Champs-Élysées. And President Obama said what would be really important to do is not just mark this anniversary with a bunch of leaders, political leaders, but let's reach out to young people. Africa is one of the youngest continents in the world. What Africa needs is for young people to be taking ownership of the future of their countries in government, in civil society, in entrepreneurship, in journalism. And so we invited people from across Africa to come to a town hall meeting at the White House with President Obama. And the energy in the room was so fantastic that we decided to build a whole program based on the same concept. And what we learned in talking to the participants as this program grew, from just a town hall meeting to a fellowship of 1,000 to a digital network of several 100,000, is what was valuable to people touched by the program. One was, above all, their ability to interact with each other. To have people, I remember meeting with a young healthcare NGO leader from Nigeria who wanted to bring healthcare to villages around where he was from. And he met a healthcare NGO leader from Kenya who already had an organization up and running and had invented an app so that you could use your phone to find a nurse who could come out to provide a particular care. And so they became collaborators, essentially. That small interaction we saw replicated across many fields in many countries. And we saw Yali alumni organize themselves so that when the Ebola epidemic took root in West Africa, we had Yali alumni and participants from the affected countries getting together to try to do public education and to provide healthcare. So we saw the tremendous power of bringing people together. We saw the tremendous power of a fellowship program like this that could bring people to extraordinary parts of the United States, like the cradle of our democracy here in Virginia. We saw the benefit that communities had from interacting with Yali fellows. So it's not just people who come through the Yali program who learn something. It's American communities who host Yali fellows. And so this was a model that we then replicated in Southeast Asia and in Latin America, and that President Obama very much wants to see the U.S. government continue to do, because the U.S. government uniquely has resources around the world to identify young leaders, to make sure that we're drawing from not just capital cities, but we're reaching out into other regions that don't always participate in exchange programs, that we're making sure that there's gender balance, so that we're reaching out to women as well as young men. So there's tremendous benefit to the U.S. government doing this, but President Obama, I think, can fill a unique role, including, as he has said to Yali participants in the past, continuing to engage alumni of Yali and YSEALI, the Southeast Asian program, and our Latin American program. So right now we are thinking through in our foundation, how does the Obama Foundation connect with the next generation of young leaders, including people like the Yali Fellows here today as they move forward with their work, and how do we work with organizations around the world. We found that Yali depends upon really the foresight and guidance and support of bipartisan members of Congress and extraordinarily talented civil servants like the State Department representative here today. And that's a good segue into Tim Kaine. I think Tim Kaine reflects, exactly what you would look for and want in a member of the United States Congress of either party. Somebody who has come up through public service, has filled a variety of roles, and at every step of the way has gotten results, whether that was as a mayor of Richmond, a governor of Virginia, a leader of a national political party, the Democratic National Committee, which he led during President Obama's first term, and now as a senator from Virginia. He's, I think, for the Yali participants, he's someone who got involved in leadership at a very early age. He was a Peace Corps volunteer for the United States Peace Corps in Honduras. So he has that experience too that you all are having now of going to a different country, in many ways a foreign place, and building interactions and having an experience with people that you will carry forward through the rest of your lifetime. He is someone who has always been deeply interested in and involved in foreign relations, as well as the affairs of the people of Virginia and the United States, and frankly has been a voice, I think, for a traditional approach to American foreign policy that brings people together to make sure that we're making the right choices about everything from war and peace to how we promote development around the world, and how do we have programs like Yali that express America's values as well as our more specific national interests. So with that, I'd like to welcome Senator Tim Kaine, who's just could not be a better example of leadership to kick you all off as you start your fellowship.